no zero COVID, put simply, means that China's approach against previously used in the pandemic isn't going to work with Omicron. And now, coming at this with the healthcare policy background, I tend to think of these things in terms of cases and hospitalizations and deaths. But China is a pretty unique situation, and we need to think about it with a broader picture. So unlike most other countries, China actually has the infrastructure to aggressively trace contacts and isolate cases, as they've been doing, trying to isolate the cases to one place and keep the rest of the economy functioning, which worked pretty well in the first year when most of the country lived relatively normal lives, and while other countries had these kind of horrific amounts of illness and death. But in the past year, the strategy started to be less appealing. It was challenged by Delta and more widespread lockdowns and closures. We saw in Xian the past few weeks that a city of 13 million people were kept at home, and local government officials were bringing vegetables door to door because they couldn't leave their houses. And so it started to look like the zero COVID strategy was getting more and more difficult to maintain. But they had the exit strategy. They had over 83% of the population was fully vaccinated with Chinese domestic vaccines. So there was this possibility that they'd have some gradual opening at some point by the end of the next year. But Omicron changes that, because the Chinese vaccines, it turns out, are not good at all at stopping transmission of the Omicron variant. And we're still not sure how well they're going to do against severe disease, but that's probably not something that China's going to want to test in their population. So if they found Delta challenging, Omicron's going to be nearly impossible to stop with the same playbook. So they're not heading for necessarily a health catastrophe with lots of illnesses and deaths, but rather that they're likely to try to double down on the goal of zero COVID, but they're going to need to use more severe measures to achieve that goal. We're going to see lockdowns like we did in Xian. We might see those repeated around the country, and it's going to be like this game of whack-a-mole, trying to stop each small outbreak as it happens. So the bottom line is that China is incredibly committed to this goal of zero COVID, and it's going to be increasingly more difficult to keep that up without seeing hits to their growth, even if they add stimulus to the economy as we're expecting. And that's going to have effects for the rest of the world.